It's Saturday and we are working on the new countertop. This is our old dinette top and we are going to be using it as our new countertop. This is the old one. That hole is going to be slid back. It's going to be totally rectangular. Excited for this. There's some interesting things here like this piece of trim. That's all glued in there and kind of hard to get off, but that's okay.
Steve is working on cutting this trim piece with a hacksaw by hand because we don't want to dull the circular blade that we got to cut through the laminate. We want that blade to be as nice as possible so hopefully we don't chip the laminate.
Because we're going to be cutting the laminate, the Formica top, I'm going to swap out my blade on my saw with a 40 tooth. I wish I could get a finer blade, but I can't find one. But that's going to help it chip less, supposedly. So I'm going to do some sample test cuts here to see how bad this is going to chip. I'm going to try cutting it without tape, with tape, and then cutting it from the other side to see if any of those yield a better result. No tape from the top. That is gorgeous! Let's try it with the tape. That's way better than I could have hoped for. I mean, it's slightly chipped on that one. That one's a little better, I think. Let's try it from the back side. From the back with tape, from the top with tape. From the back, no tape. From the top, no tape. So my favorite is this one and this one. Definitely cutting from the back is getting a much cleaner cut. Look at that, right on the mark.
Looks great.
Now we need to cut that one, which goes on the back.
Looks pretty good.
Yay, I'll take it. Countertop is cut. That was the most stressful part. Cutting the round hole in it won't be too bad, provided I get another jigsaw blade. Here's what our new counter is going to look like. It's 2 pieces, which is less than ideal, but the dinette wasn't big enough to totally reuse it. So it's going to look like that. Oven goes here. Sink will go right in here. We are transferring the old counter sink cutout to the new one.
Sink, faucet, beauty.
Looks really nice. Look at all that counter space. You're still going to have this and this and this and this.
We had practically nothing before. Like, most of the counter space was behind the faucet, which you're like, yeah, that's super useful. So the bump out was kind of, I don't know, at least to me it was kind of pointless.
Agreed.
And I think this will be fine.
Wrong tool for the job. This is an impact driver, not a drill. I'm too lazy right now. I think we got enough to get the blade through there.
Looks so good.
Thanks.
I've used saws just enough on the van builds and stuff like that to realize that Steve makes that look easy, and I don't feel like it's very easy to do that.
I think I want to do that rest from the bottom so it doesn't splinter out. Really respect Chris and G. They're building a schoolie, and he learned how to weld. Awesome. Alright, we've got the countertop. See what it looks like on here. Hey, that looks great. Look at that. Like it was meant to be. We're going to go have some dinner, which means it's going to be dark when we're picking this back up, but we'll be in the Airstream. Hopefully we'll be able to like mock it all up and see where stuff fits. Whew, here we go. Man, it's raining out there. We've got this piece sitting in here. You can see on the floor where the ring is, where that bump out used to be. In fact, this used to come out here. We're obviously going to have to change the plumbing, but now we've got the countertop pieces. We're able to put them in and see how it all lines up. I need to cut some notches out for the edge of the stove. There's a little notch right there and one on the other side. And then I think the countertops will be ready to go in. Alright, here's where we are. We are sitting in a good spot. The problem is we've got a little gap right there, and in order to close that gap, this hits the corner right there. I didn't take into account the radius of the dinette when building this. So we have a couple options. We could notch this down a 1/2 inch. That feels like the wrong way. I feel like we're literally cutting corners. The other option is to shorten this by a 1/2 inch, thus pushing the whole cabinet over. And I might have to notch out a little spot here for the sink, now that I think about that, but that'll be okay. And I'm going to have to notch out a piece back here for the faucet back there. I might have to notch that whole thing out. We'd like to put a piece up here that goes across the front eventually for the drawer. So I think the best idea is to shorten this, get that over, then this won't hang. If I were smart enough and had caught that early on, there were a lot of things to factor, and I'm pioneering. I would have just added a 1/2 inch over there, and that would have cleared, and everything would have been great, but it is what it is, and this is easy. It's just a single cut down there, 1/2 inch. I'm probably going to have to open this up a little more, because that's going to be a 1/2 inch that way, rubbing these pipes, which we don't want while we're driving. But that's a pretty easy fix as far as fixes go. So yeah, getting ready for that. We got the counter installed. There's where the two join up. And speaking of the oven, now it's time to put the oven in and get it out of the middle of the floor. That'll be super nice. Then we can hook the propane back up and turn the heater back on. Mom's here with us and she's having fun. All right, we got it done. Is it before midnight?
4 minutes to midnight.
Yeah,
What?
we're setting a record. We're done before midnight. And the counter's installed. The stove is installed. The gas is back on. Nothing's leaking. And we turned the stove on. Nobody died.
We've still got a plum, but like the work that we did looks good, and we're really pleased.
Looks
with it.
real good. Look at that. So much more room
It
in
is
here.
So much better.
Airstream, you should have done that from the get-go. In fact, they did in the early 2000s. They didn't have that bump out. And on the Eddie Bauer editions, they don't have the bump out because they have that hatch that comes through that makes it like so you can put kayaks and stuff in here because the bump gets in the way. Anyway, we made the coolest 23D ever so far.